Back to another episode of the Casey Campbell podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by Gary Houghton, the head football coach at Mason. How's it going?
Hey, great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Another season is upon us, but we can't do this interview without asking you. Coming off of last season, what was that just like to be a part? I know it was full of a lot of wins, obviously a tragedy early on in the year, a roller coaster of a year. What was that like to be a part of?
There was a lot of things going on, obviously with the tragedy um, that happened after the Holt game, before the DeWitt game. That was pretty rough. That was a tough time for our kids and for our community. Um, it was just a lot to work through, but they ended up coming together, and it was a very emotional season. One of the toughest schedules I've ever coached during. Um, Kids just answered. It was a lot of fun, some dramatic wins, especially towards the end. The King game, the Walled Lake Western game, just some, last minute win kind of things that, it was just like you said earlier, historic season. First time the Mason had ever been in a state finals. Just some things that I think we've raised the bar on the program and the expectations. So, I'm very optimistic about the future.
Absolutely. Let's talk about this year. What's this group going to be like? And to talk about that, we got I'll mention all the returners and all the players to watch for this team. We'll start with the offense, go with the defense, and then special teams.
Sure. The obvious person that we had coming back is Kason Carswell, our all-state quarterback, who's also a D1 commit. He'll be back for his senior season. Uh, the funny thing about our skill kids is we have a lot of talented skill kids that kind of got covered up last year, not only at tailback, but at wide receiver. I'm pretty confident that our guys would have started on other teams, but they were behind guys like AJ Martell, Derek Badgley, Caleb Parrish, Tyler Baker, Cole Reese, guys that their names are all over the record books at Mason. And these guys are finally getting their chance as juniors and seniors to put their stamp on it. So skill wise, I don't have any concerns. I think we're going to be very good skill wise. Um, the question marks I think we have that most people are going through is offensive and defensive line. And the reason is all these 7-on-7s, there's two things we don't do, and that's blocking and tackling. So we don't really know. I like the kids we have. We have size. We have more foot speed on the line than we had last year. So I like these guys. It's it's going to take some time before we know. And I would say by the time we get through the scrimmage, week 2, we should know exactly where we are. Our scrimmage is we're up against some really good teams, so I think we're gonna find out.
Yeah. Um, Also, kind of more defensively, where are you guys at? I know you mentioned the defensive line, but what linebackers, secondary, what's that looking like?
Yeah, I again, that's one area we did get back is our linebackers. So Logan Dorr, Caleb Vaughn, Joey Child, all outstanding linebackers. They will be in the mix. We have some good young guys that are coming up that have stepped up. Couple sophomores, couple freshmen that are really, really good and have really impressed us in the off season. So we have a lot of new names and new faces to work with that very talented kids. And again, you know, parts of the D line will be new. Sam Corey's back as a defensive end. who led our team in sacks last year. So Sam will be a key piece. And he'll be on both sides of the ball as a wide receiver and tight end, as well as defensive end. But we'll be new at the corner position, and we'll be new at free safety. So there'll be some things that'll be new. The way I like to look at it is it's going to be a different way to win. We will be a different team.
Okay. Special teams, what's that looking like?
Well, we have both of our kickers back. Both are soccer players. Colin Winters will be a senior this fall.
Yep.
And he had great numbers over the last 2 years, primarily from kicking extra points on two teams that have put up a ton of points over the last 2 years. So he's had lots of opportunities. Made some key field goals last year. One was in the Walled Lake Western game. That was a big one. That one was over 40 yards. Big kick. Then we have a sophomore, Jacob Ackley, who's got a bigger leg, who's also a soccer player. He will be in the mix as well. He might be the guy that takes some of the longer field goals. He'll be competing for the kickoff job. So, there's competition there and two very talented kickers. So, punting, we have two or three guys that can punt really well, one of them being Cason Carswell. And that makes our punt team a little more dangerous when you have him. If you try to rush him, he's going to have the green light to make plays. So people are going to have to be careful with him back there.
Yeah. And also don't forget, a lot of people know that, football made a big run in the state title to the state title game, but Mason soccer also made a pretty big run to the state title.
Absolutely did. They made it to the title game as well.
I forgot. Yeah, I was there for that one. So,
yeah, that was a big year for Mason athletics, not only for football and soccer, but I think there were more league, district, regional, and state finals appearances last year than there's been in the history of the school.
Yeah, it just shows how big Mason athletics has really just gotten over the years. Okay, so now we've mentioned the kids. Now let's talk about the upcoming schedule for you guys. Of course, starting off on August 29th at Holt, September 6th home against DeWitt, September 13th at Williamston, September 20th at Hazlitt, September 27th home against Lansing Eastern, October 4th at St. John's, October 11th home against Fowlerville, October 18th home against Walled Lake Western, and finishing out the regular season home against Fenton. So a pretty good schedule, really tough schedule, but a lot of those games are going to be at home, including the last three. And also the theme with the red this year in the CAAC is, everyone kind of loses something.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it comes down to, I think the three teams that are right at the top are Hazlitt, Williamston, and Mason. No offense to St. John's or Fowlerville. I think they're going to be very competitive as well. But I think, that's kind of been the case for the last 3 or 4 years, has been those three teams are right at the top.
Yeah, it's going to be, what's the division really kind of looking like heading into this year? And of course, the start of the season going to a Holt team, and then of course, any time that you play DeWitt it's obviously going to be a good game.
Oh yeah, we expect DeWitt will be very good this year. They have most of their kids back, so we're anticipating they'll be very good this year. And they play us at our place this year, so that's usually a benefit.
And also 5 home games, including the last 3, as I mentioned earlier, at home. And obviously we've proven that you can win absolutely anywhere. But what's that like to have, Western, and then of course, Fenton, both at home as well as, DeWitt and stuff.
Well, with Walled Lake Western and Fenton, those were very good teams who are returning very good players. So I anticipate they'll be both very good. The drive coming from there, having had to go there both locations last year, I can tell you that it does it does play an impact on how you perform. So having them both come to us, I think is a little bit of an advantage for us. Especially Walled Lake, the traffic around there is very challenging.
Yes.
The first time we went up there, we sat at one light for 25 minutes, and we were probably a mile from their stadium,
Yeah.
and we left early, anticipating there's going to be issues, and we ended up getting there right on time.
Yeah.
So, those are things that you have to consider when you're scheduling people is, drive time is one thing, but sitting in traffic is tough on kids. They get antsy,
Yes.
you're not moving, and they get distracted. And, um, it's, you know, a little bit of a challenge, there's no doubt.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, you know, with all that travel, I mean, as well as anyone trying to get there with all the construction on I-96 and all that stuff. So
Mhm.
it's gonna, yeah, but all right. But Gary, thank you. Oh, and one more thing. What's this week gonna look like for you guys? How are you guys approaching this week? But also, what's the next few weeks gonna be like until that game on the 29th?
Well, this week we're in the modified dead period, so we're just lifting. We're not doing anything football related. Next week we start double sessions, and we're hitting the ground running. We have a lot of guys that have been working very hard in the off season, and we'll start practice on Monday just like everyone else. We practice in the evening, and we're excited. We're ready to roll.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Gary Houghton, thank you so much for the time as always. And best of luck to the Bulldogs. And I'm sure you're going to be saying, how about them Bulldogs a lot this year.
Let's hope so. Yep. Thank you. I appreciate